Hi, and welcome to One by Avant-Garde. Today I'm sitting down with Global CEO for Avant-Garde, Marc Schumacher. Hello, Marc.
Hey,
I shouldn't be nervous sitting next to my global CEO, should I?
no,
No,
should not at all.
not at all. First of all, I want to say thank you because Avant-Garde's such an epic agency, and I think the work that you're doing with all of the regional offices, the international offices, is amazing. But I want to kick off by asking this question. I want to start off with the first question by saying that One by Avant-Garde is the name of the e-magazine, and I feel that we really are one agency with a global reach. How are you achieving that as global CEO?
Well, we have to take into consideration that we, as a professional service company, we have to ensure that managing directors, board members, CMOs out of the different sectors have a very clear understanding of what the offering and what the services from the Avant-Garde are, and so we have to put more effort in working on this perception of the Avant-Garde, because it's everything but another agency network. It has a very clear offering, and it has a very clear stand of that we see the future for developed countries and for developed economies within what we call the experience economy. And this experience economy needs totally different marketing solutions and new skill sets also for the marketing departments, and that's where we can make a difference. And I travel a lot, basically every day, having also a lot of client meetings. Being the CEO of an agency like Avant-Garde is mainly front end. It's about being at the client, being in the offices, meeting the teams, also contributing at pitches to ensure that the brand is understood and what Avant-Garde stands for. And we also work on quite a lot of keynotes globally, where we educate audiences of the challenges when it comes to experience economy, and all that together, hopefully, we will even strengthen the perception of the brand, and then also ensure that it's been understood that there is a variety of offerings, but it's all been labeled under one umbrella, which is Avant-Garde Group.
Amazing. Under our umbrella, our tagline is creating fans. What does that mean for you, and how do you educate clients on what that means for them?
Well, creating fans is the corporate mission, and that has been invented many years ago, and we feel very comfortable with that mission, even so as we speak of today in 22 or for the next 10 years, because we have to understand that target groups, as we do name it or frame it within marketing, will have to become communities, and that we do have to see that a customer, or the framing of customer, needs to be understood as needs to be transformed to a fan. So saying that means that if we want to create real loyalty, and if we want to create people that are also willing to pay a price premium on a specific service or product, they have to become fans of your company, fans of your product, fans of your service. That's a different level. It's like evolutionary. That's what marketing will be all about, because push-based marketing initiatives from the past, so I give you as much media as possible and then hopefully you buy something at the end of the journey, that will not work any longer. So creating fans is our mission, but very much describes what the future of marketing will be all about.
I absolutely agree and love it. When we look at brands that are doing this really well, you look at people like Harley-Davidson that have a very strong brand community. You look at Sephora that have their beauty insider community. There's some brands that are getting it right in terms of creating fans, not only with the end user, but across their ecosystem of stakeholders. Yeah. What do you think is some of the reasons why brands are not getting it right, and how does Avant-Garde, how do we solve that problem for them?
Well, I think first of all, we have to see that we should be way more careful using the word community, because it has been used everywhere, and in, I would say, 98% of the cases where it's used, that what has been described is everything but a community. A community is a very serious thing where people really deeply interact and connect with a topic or a company. So honestly speaking, we must say that only a very few people have created a community, and many companies and many brands naming it community, but if you have to take a deeper look, it's nothing else than a client base, or it's nothing else than a group of people that buy the product on a regular basis, but that's everything but a community. So we have to also educate what a community really is, and it is, at the end, it shows very much what we call the future marketing challenge when it comes to that classical consumers or shoppers get more and more immune when it comes to conventional marketing approaches. So they want to understand the topic behind, and they also want to get context to the product and to the usage, and this information and all the experiences that people make with a specific product should more be shared within the clients, and not so much as one voice from the company telling people how they should work with the product. So meaning that means that the community also is to be seen way more independent from the company, or independent from the brand and marketing efforts that most marketing people would like that to be like to accept that, but it's for good. It has to let go a little bit then, because at the end the Harley Davidson chapter in a city is so powerful, is doing so much for the brand, and no CMO of the world can contribute there.
I agree. Marketeers and also just wider C-suite, however, get a little bit afraid of that, right? I've gone in and worked with clients and they say that's all good in theory, but we need to take control. We don't want to release our brands to this community, and they run with it. So where's the line where a CMO or a CEO say, actually, it needs to be within our guidelines, but at the same time, authenticity needs to be birthed?
Well, I would say that control is long gone. I would say.
I agree.
No, that should not drive us, because at the end we do have to accept that this is in the first time in history you got an infinity number of people who are sending on a daily basis, and you got an infinity number of people who are receiving messages. So it's gone away. I mean, like I see so many companies trying to produce social media content, for example, and the reach is not really high, and then there are people that one woman, one man armies, great content creators that produce millions of views because the content is so right, and it's so perfect from what this audience wants to hear and see. So that we have to understand and accept that within the creator economy, and the better content, the better message, and also the better community is decentralized and no longer coming from a marketing department, or no longer from that one CMO. And we also as agencies have to adapt to that. So also we have to work way more agile. We have to be way more collaborative when it comes to creative processes, and also invite people into our creative processes, because they live within these communities and get the better idea.
Which means egos need to be parked in order to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think also the role model of that one creative director who has the one mastermind idea, that's pretty much an idea from the 90s. Yeah.
I agree. When you are speaking on global stages and you're saying this to your fellow CEOs, you're saying this to CMOs, how do you educate them in that this is the future, whether they are running with it or not? How do you help them to stop being a blockbuster? And I always say that to people, anybody remember Blockbuster? It's gone. How do you stop them from being so afraid that they actually hinder their own business development?
Well, I experience there's a very high level of well-educated CMOs around the globe, but we all have one big challenge, and that includes myself. We all have a reality in that I'm living by my lifestyle, or by my family reality, or by my age, and by my cultural background, meaning that the one thing I'm always trying to make everybody aware of, let's be clear that my perspective or your perspective as a CMO from that company has nothing to do with the reality from your clients or from the audience you want to reach. I think that's really important, and it also comes to many board members or well-educated supervisory board members that sometimes are not really taking into consideration that they have lost connection to these clients, and so that's why you have to give it away. You have to give it to the community, because the times where this big corporate brand is telling people this one message, that's gone. Yeah, but for good. It's gone for good.
You've touched on something that really resonates with me, which is around not being global but being global, and understanding cultural nuances. And of course, now in the world we have 4 generations working together because people are living longer. How does a CEO really tackle that from a cultural nuance, globally, but also from an intergenerational working?
Well, I think first of all, we really have to see that there's a new skill set, and that new skill set for every CMO, but for every manager, project manager, or executive within in an agency, in Avant-Garde or in another group, is you have to have an understanding of cultural marketing. So it's a very important word. You have to really listen to these audiences and to see what happens in these lifestyles. So when people are laughing that I spend about an hour on TikTok on a daily basis because they think it's useless time, I think I see so many things that I wasn't aware of. I hear so much music that is so popular that I never heard before, just by the fact that I'm spending time at the airport or somewhere else for TikTok. TikTok is just one example where you have to try to keep up with these developments. It's not that if I like TikTok or not. That's not the question. It's more like it's not important to. And many people maybe understand strategically social media, but they do not really live within these realities. And I think that's what we have to do more. When it comes to these 4 generations, I think what we have to see is that within urban areas around the world, I cannot really distinguish anymore the behavior of an educated 60-year-old guy to the one from 35-year-old. So we have to be very careful when it comes to demographics, and especially the 2 years of the pandemic forced many of these people to digitalize their lifestyle overnight. So it was a big booster also for demographics way older. But they are all now on Netflix. They all have their streaming services for fitness courses or whatever. So the pandemic has done a lot by educating people living a digital lifestyle, also especially the older ones.
You've hit on something in terms of the internal teams and the fact that gone are the days where a CMO or a creative director has the overarching voice. On a day-to-day kind of practical level, how would you encourage us as directors across Avant-Garde, but also just your peers, to ensure that you're empowering the next generation to have a voice in those meetings and not fall into the trap of, well, I've done 20 years. Like how practically would you advise that?
Well, I always say, not only to my colleagues in the board, but also to the whole management team, that I personally have underestimated pretty much every development over the last 25 years. So when Amazon started to sell books, or when social media came in, or when other things came up, I think we have to understand that we live in a decade where change, with the speed of change, but also the intensity of that change, has never been this before. So there's no decade in human history that is comparable. And I'm not talking about all the challenges that we have with war and inflation and interest rates and shortage in global supply chain. That's a different thing. I'm saying that there's so much technology developed right now, and there's so many digital and technology trends that merge at the moment, that there's a great future ahead. But the disruptive force has never been bigger to business models, to sectors, to industries. So and I'm not saying that to make anybody afraid. I'm saying that let's be respectful and let's accept that we have responsibility in a decade where nobody has been prepared for. And with that mindset, you better I know nothing basically, or it will definitely come different than I thought. Then you better give maybe the 20-year-old a big voice in that room, because he or she has at least a better chance to anticipate where that goes instead of me.
That's awesome answer. I love that. I'm actually taking that to my meeting next. I know nothing. So let's talk about the wider environment. You know, we are coming off of post-pandemic. There is definitely going to be a global recession that's going to impact the Western society, I believe, more than, you know, Africa or the Middle East. How are we as Avant-Garde, and how are you as our global CEO and your peers preparing for that? And what do we say to ourselves going forward as professionals to get ready for that?
Well, what we have done this year together is focus. So we have taken out complexity within the group, and we have had a pretty proper discussion also within the shareholder circle of what we really want to go for, and where we do, for example, really want to heavily invest, like for example into technology like XPi within that. So focus and also these investments into future products. That's something that is part of our preparation. And what we have one big advantage. We do work for global blue chips, and I'm pretty optimistic that we have very strong relationships with them, so that we will also have, within an environment that is tougher, we do have all the opportunities to get through that in a good way. And we definitely have to work on the offer, and that's what we also did, because the pandemic showed that what has been named, what wasn't maybe named or framed as event or live communication, has not the relevance anymore. But it has a very high relevance of what I said in the beginning. There is a phenomena which is called the experience economy. We're sitting here in Dubai today, which is like one of the epicenters for the experience economy, and we have to understand that this is so much more than event, or it's so much more than live marketing. It is about the fact that people spend the majority of their purchasing power in not anymore in goods, but in what they do with their time, or what they want to experience, and that's our window of opportunity. And taking that into consideration, even so the given circumstances that are tough, no question, I'm very optimistic that the best years from Avant-Garde are definitely ahead.
I agree. I think that when people are down, they need experiences even more. So the fact that we're going into a potential global recession, I would agree and would be advising clients that the experience needs to be at the heartbeat of their brand. Do you agree? And if so, how would you expand on that?
Yeah, there's three dimensions that every company and every brand has to, every company has to think about. It's brand experience, it's service experience, and product experience. So it's the three: it's service, product, and brand. And these three very often work together, but these are three dimensions where that can be done. And it's also that when we think about what a experience, a holistic experience really is, it touches people. And interestingly, there are so many different examples where we spend crazy money on things that, if you have a very analytic view on it, the price is not okay. But in that moment, you accept that price at that restaurant, or that the accommodation in that hotel, for example, yeah, or we never question Starbucks prices, which are insane. Yes. So there's so many examples where we can all learn or observe our own behavior, that we are all already victim of the experience economy.
I think you're calling out my daily routine.
Yeah, right. So so that's and experiences are part of. They have to create atmospheres. We look for this little intangible details that make a difference, and that create joy, and that's what it's all about. And that's why creating a proper brand, product, and service experiences will become a new core skill set of companies, or new skill set of marketing departments.
I love that, and I know you're busy, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to ask you one last question. What excites you about the future for both Avant-Garde, our clients, and just the idea of creating fans in general?
Well, it's about the fact that we have the privilege that we can realize, produce these ideas. So this executional punch, this executional excellence that Avant-Garde stands for, is really the one that drives me the most. Because, for example, as we had the expo in Dubai here, and we had the privilege to create and produce the pavilion for UK, that is nice in a rendering, and it's nice in the PowerPoint, but it really kicks me when it finally is there. So for every project that we create globally makes a difference the moment where we really run it, where we really produce it, where we really operate it. And that's where Avant-Garde made a difference for many years, and that's what motivates me the most. Get it out of the PowerPoint on the road.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time, Marc.
Sure, pleasure.
Can we high five?
Sure.
I love it.